Again, disappointed because I think we were better side. First half, I think we deserved to score and win the game because they didn't create, only in few set pieces. But after the second half, we were on top of them, and then with the red card, I think changed the game and was more open. We are still creating chances, but we didn't score, and we conceded in a one counter-attack. But yeah, disappointed because I think it looks like okay, it's everything against us, but the team never give up, and of course we are going to fight to change the situation as soon as possible.
So is Mauricio Pochettino under pressure, or is that far from the root of Chelsea's problems? Whether or not it might be what the owners think is the solution is a different question, which we can come to. But the root of Chelsea's problem seems to be player acquisition, no?
Well, the right player for a start, in respect of a striker, which is something that they obviously need. See, Jackson, he's trying. He's very young.
They have Nkunku, obviously, is
Nkunku. So it's somebody that you feel like now he's under immense pressure once he comes in, you know, to maybe hit the ground running. But again, we're looking at a Chelsea side with very good players. We don't really see the structure of what's going on, exactly how they're going to play. But again, I've watched games with Chelsea where if they take the chances what they've created, they probably start building confidence in a team that's quite young. They've got young players who are losing confidence with every loss. You know what I mean? The pressure was coming, you could feel it in the stadium. And, you know, I don't think there's enough experienced players enough to calm it down so as they could get through these periods in games, score those goals and start to build momentum and confidence in games. And I think that that's a massive worry for me. It's the young players and their emotional state in trying to, next week, OK, we'll do it next week. Or, you know what I mean, we'll start doing it. It's got to start happening soon for Chelsea, especially with their fixtures.
Yeah, I have to agree with you a lot there. I think if I go back to when I was coming through, and I was a young lad, even though it was on the back of some spankings from Arsenal. Yeah. At least when I came on the pitch, I had mature, experienced players to kind of guide me through. Play with freedom, don't worry about this, don't worry about that. Whereas now the subs that are coming on, they're coming on for somebody else that's effectively in the same position as them. Or the subs that have been on the bench have never...
You look at those fixtures there, Mayowa, like Liverpool, West Ham, Luton, Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth and Villa.
But that opening day draw against Liverpool, it looked as though there were sparks. It was going somewhere.
Signs of encouragement. I think ultimately, if you cast memories back to that first game, a lot of the conversation was, who are all of these players? Yeah. So everyone was like, who's this? Yeah. And I think that's part of the issue where you're trying to mix and blend so many different profiles, so many young players at once. I think there's just so many things going on. It's hard to pinpoint one thing as well. I mean, right, you talk about the lack of goal scoring. For the whole of 2023, even when it was part of Chelsea, the same thing, performing on XG but not scoring goals. It's a goal-scoring business. If you're not scoring goals, you're not performing well. And it's been the same thing throughout the whole calendar year. Whether that's because they've not brought a striker in or they're not implementing the right things or the player's not good enough. We cannot score goals for the life of us. But at the moment now, Pochettino probably is feeling the pressure. You look at the games that Chelsea have coming up and it could get very, very, very spooky. Because as you said, loads of young players.
You know, you look at those... That's so tough. I think you look at...
Well, you want a cushion from Fulham and Burnley, don't you, before you go in? Fulham have a decent record.
You wanted the cushion...
And that's a derby.
Yeah, but you wanted the cushion in the first 5 games. Statistically, you had the easiest running. You look at, you know, what Ange managed to do at Spurs, implement something in the first 5 games. Yeah. We've done nothing, and now we have 2 more games to potentially try and do something before you go into a really, really tough run.
I think you look at those, obviously Brighton in the League Cup, but Fulham, which is a derby, like we say, and Burnley are 2 must-win games now. They have to win those games because what you're looking at after that is Arsenal, Brentford, Tottenham, City, Newcastle. You know, you look at those games, the way Chelsea are playing at the moment, and you really would worry for them.
Do you think Poch actually knows how he wants to play? Because at times I've seen Chilwell playing as a winger. He doesn't seem to like him at left-back. He was playing Levi Colwill there at some point. So I'm kind of confused as to the way he actually wants Chelsea to play anyway. There's a few players that will always play that you see in the team. But I feel like if Sterling isn't playing well, there's no creativity in that team whatsoever. There's nobody that's going to get him behind or do a bit of trickery to create an opportunity. Yeah,
there does seem to be a lot of emphasis on him. And, you know, you've seen him, and like you rightly say, Kels, he's doing well. He's doing OK. But in some of those moments, again, you know, if he takes those chances, if they take the chances like I saw him create, I saw Chilwell have a great chance. I saw Jackson have a good chance. At home, I think I can't underestimate how important it is when you score at home as a young player and then you start to get that good energy from the crowd rather than that energy of moaning and groaning when things don't go well. So then what happens is, Kels, you then start to play within yourself. You don't want to make mistakes. Then you're trying to be too precise with the finishes. And then all that just amounts to more time, taking more time. And the more time you take, the more the goalie's going to set himself. The defender gets time to come back and challenge you. And that, for me, is where you look at Chelsea and you think, something's going to have to give soon. They're going to need to do it. And I think it's those next 2 games. If they don't do it in those 2 games, then you probably do have to start worrying for Poch. I'm not sure if a new manager comes in and changes it straight away, but like you rightly mentioned there, but Ange, we've seen in 5-6 games a style of play, what Tottenham's playing, everyone understands and we can all see. And we're looking at Chelsea and we still don't even know who their best 11 will be.
It's like a chef opening the fridge, and it might be amazing parmesan, but if it's in there with like delicious chocolate, you're not going to make anything that anybody wants to eat, are you? And it might all be incredible, but it's not going to come together in a good way.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's bizarre. I think a lot of people look at Chelsea historically and say that there's always been a bounce back. But I think you have to look at Chelsea as a new team now. That bounce back is not going to come. Like, you look at all of the players, we spent over £1 billion, and you look at that team and be like, where's the money been spent? It's almost like, supermarket rush. You just grab everything and you come back. It's like, what do you have to show for what you spent? Don't know. So ultimately, there are issues there. It takes time to blend any team, talk to a team of young players. And as you both know, when you're a young player, you're going to have peaks and troughs in performance. But you need game time on the pitch to actually improve.
Yeah.
You can't guarantee all of these young players development time to improve, especially when you're under a lot of pressure with those fixtures coming. And that's where it gets tricky. Some of the more experienced players have to step up. But really and truly, you probably only have Thiago Silva, I say Disasi because he's a French international, Sterling.
Yeah.
You look at the team on the weekend, the person with experience was probably Conor Gallagher saying that at West Brom, I went for a tough time. Let's bring it all together. And that's not what you need at that level for that club.
They've got Enzo, haven't they? And they've got a World Cup winner in there. But
Relatively, he's played a senior and a half of professional football before a massive move. Season 2 seasons, Caicedo, similar. It's very, very difficult.
Another one of the worries is probably going to be if this run continues like it does where, they're losing home games and, they're drawing games away from home in teams that they should be beating. You just feel that for me, that when you look at, like I say, a young team that are continually losing and you can't get out of the rock. Yeah, and then you're on these long contracts, then what happens is that your confidence is going, you're not playing, and you're sitting around. It doesn't seem like the atmosphere, that the environment is going to be one of, come on, you've got to keep going, because then they're thinking, well, I'm here for 8 years, it's not going well. We'll see what happens if this manager goes. It doesn't seem to breed the kind of mentality what makes you want to push to do well. Yeah. Gives you a kind of like, okay, well, I'll just sit back.
The other thing with the long contracts, as I understand it, is Chelsea do need to qualify for Europe in order to be able to kind of make their finances work in terms of FFP. Or it's certainly it's of primary importance to try and make that happen, because that's something that's going to potentially help them towards the future seasons with all the amortisation of the player fees and the we can all Google. But look, there's an issue with Chelsea, and it doesn't feel like anything that's going to resolve itself anytime soon. And of course, they've got 12 players out injured, and that's just making things even more difficult. If you're looking at the first choice 11 and thinking there's some unknowns in there, when you're down to the second choice, it's starting to look a little bit kind of make do and mend. On the other hand, you've got Manchester City with a perfect start to the season. They are absolutely cruising. Look, we should really put this in context of who they've played. I mean, they had the game against Newcastle, in which Newcastle didn't play particularly well, and so that was kind of and Man City got the 1-0 win. They played West Ham, who they beat comfortably, but they were a goal down in that one. But other than that, it's been opposition that you would expect Manchester City to win. The big game's going to come up in a couple of weeks' time when they play Arsenal, and then we'll get a real sense of where everything might end up this season. But is everything that you've seen from Manchester City suggested that they are just, yeah, on rollers to the end of the season?
Yeah, I look at it, if you go off the last few seasons, no matter who they came up with, whether they're a bottom of the table, middle of the table, City always struggled, started off very slowly. And for whatever reason this year, the teams that they may have dropped points from in the past years, they're winning them. I wouldn't say they necessarily played at their peak powers when they've won all these games, but they did what it took to win those games. I think their best performance so far this season, I would say, was the first half against Nottingham Forest, where they dictated. But then I could also say that Forest were that scared of them that they kind of let them do what they wanted. But the way they're playing is fantastic. I don't think Haaland's where he wants to be in himself yet, as in front of goals. He's got 8 goals and people are saying he should have more. And I'm one of those people, but that's the standards I think he
his
set for
finishing
himself.
hasn't been as clinical as it was. I know it sounds ridiculous, but as always with Manchester City and with Manchester City players, we're talking about them almost with like unique metrics. It's kind of, we're judging them by a different standard from everyone else.
So when they was on pre-season, they couldn't do too much because of the humidity and heat. So training was like really, really tailored to the point where me and Jolien were thinking, hold on a minute, if we had pre-season like this, we might have lasted until we was 38.
Was it really good?
No, it was really tailored to the weather. They played games and they were ready for the games. And it seems like they got fitter and fitter as this season's gone on. And I think right now, but when you lose Kevin De Bruyne, then on one hand you're thinking, what are we going to do now? Just chuck in Alvarez. It's okay. Do you know what I mean?
But
you let a large combination.
Yeah, but again, with City, one thing that they will do is that with their big chances, they take them. Yeah. That is the difference.
Yeah, but then you say that, Dad, against West Ham, before that goal, they had nearly 17 chances before they scored.
Yeah, but they continue making more.
But that's the thing. The positive.
They'll continue making more, but then with the big ones, they'll take them. They'll take them, and that's the difference with them. You look at them, and they do feel, at the moment, unbeatable.
Scary though, because they do feel like they're at full pelt.
Nowhere near.
But they haven't had to be, and that's what City are brilliant at, is not ever reaching full potential unless they need to. They reserve something, don't they?
They build in. Well, what we saw, this part of the season, which you see with all the top teams, they're just making sure that the games are won. Because then, like we saw towards the end of last season, when they needed to kick into that gear where everyone's saying, "Oh, we'll see what happens when they just continue to win the games." They're building to the place where they know, right, this is where we switch on now. We win these games, with not so much petrol in the tank, but then we get the petrol filled up and then we go and finish it all off. That's what they do.
It's scary. You look at it. One of the best defenders in the league, John Stones, not there. One of the best players in the league, KDB, not there.
Not there, yeah.
Nunes comes in, looks like he's been there for years. Doku comes in, looks like he's been there for years. Specifically when a lot of the talk has always been like City players need a year of downloading data. They've just gone in and been
unbelievable,
100%
downloaded. Seems like he's changed that. Has he changed something? Because you look at Doku, he's just plug and play, the both of them.
I don't know. I think Doku's got that old school style winger feeling about him. I think when the ball gets to him, he already knows he wants to take him on.
Yeah, but the ball gets there quicker.
Yeah,
because with Jack, when we see Jack in the same situation when Jack first got there, by the time the ball got to Jack, there was 2 players in front. It seems like by the time the ball's getting to Doku, he's got 1 player to run at, and even if he's got 2, he's so quick and able to get it done in a short space that he's breaking lines, he's progressing through teams and creating.
So you see what City changed. So against West Ham, they were getting the ball to him early. He was squaring up Soufal, and he was doing him. This time, what they did against Forest obviously watched that game and said, right, we're going to stop him. They got the ball to him. As soon as the ball came out, if you see Kyle Walker literally played as a winger that whole game. And Tavares didn't know what to do. He didn't know whether to go with Phil Foden or not. And then they just switched it out quickly. So to have him as an asset, because he will go both ways.
He'll take up players.
He will go both ways. Yeah, he'll draw players in and won't go across too much with it. If he goes inside, you'll see him lay it off as quick as possible. He won't keep running with the ball.
It's the beauty of it, though, that they all understand football to such a level that you can optimise that performance and you could put different players in and still expect the same level of performance, which I feel like a lot of other teams probably don't have. You change key personnel and you have to adapt how you're playing. City are just constantly going to do this, constantly. And you saw how Forest performed. They didn't know what to do. It was like, we know it's coming, we don't know when, let's just try, and then the onslaught just
Do you
started.
not think Cooper kind of little shot himself in the foot a little bit? I think Forest, you see them play, everything's about counter-attack. City, you know we're vulnerable every now and again at counter-attack, but then you leave Elanga and Callum Hudson-Odoi on the bench. And basically you're starving Iwoni on his own. Like
Those are the kind of decisions where you think to yourself, my season's not going to be defined by beating City. I want to put them two players in, Elanga and Callum Hudson-Odoi, and let them have a go and see how it goes. They lost the game anyway. They might as well let them have a go. How can you not do that?
Lost the game, and then City down to 10 men, which means that Rodri will be suspended for the game against Arsenal. Just trying to eject an element of jeopardy into the whole procedure.
Well, we did this last Sunday after Chelsea's goalless draw at Bournemouth and their inability to take chances. It's exactly the same this week.
You're trying to put me get a remix on it or something?
Yeah.
What do you want me to do? But yeah, it's the same story for Chelsea all season. They've struggled to score goals, lack of goals. I mean, they are creating some chances, if I'm being honest. Mudryk does really well. I do like Jackson as a forward, and Wright, he might correct me, but I think he makes some brilliant runs. And to be fair to Martinez today in the Villa goal, he was inspired, made some big saves again. But again, they are getting people forward. Pochettino, says get bodies in the box. I don't know why Fernandes doesn't go with his right foot, just come on and, get his laces over that, get his knee on it. But again, I think it's maybe a confidence thing, Chappers, as a team as a whole. They're just lacking so much confidence. I think Sterling's had a decent start this season, but he's got to lift that. Martinez is on the ground. If he can lift that over the top of him, then it's a chance. And again, I don't know, when you're struggling, everything seems to be a challenge. This was shortly after, obviously, Villa got their nose in front. Chilwell going through. It's a good save, but it's a save Martinez I expected to make. Sterling maybe is it a better one to pick him out as a pass. And now I think I don't know, just something lacking. When you got Diassi coming forward, he shows with this shot, to be honest, Jabbers, and I don't want to take the Michael too much, but that's a defender's shot, should we say? And as a team, it looks not void of ideas, because they are getting people in the box, they are creating chances, but they just need a killer instinct in front of the goal.
They are creating chances. I mean, their expected goals puts them sixth in the Premier League. We looked at that Arsenal shot conversion rate, which was 12%.
Yeah.
I mean, Chelsea's is half that, over half that. Now, so what is it? Confidence? Do you think? Because some of the football's getting them to a certain point, and then they're not converting.
But then you look at some of those chances. The Ben Chilwell one, the Raheem Sterling one. Even Jackson one. I think that you look at them and they seem to be really trying to make sure now. Trying to make sure instead of just letting it happen.
Overthinking.
Yeah, because I think that Ben Chilwell, even when he's running into it, he's on that left side, he almost opens himself out to put it to the goalkeeper's right. I think Raheem Sterling looked like he just wants to get that on target instead of aiming for somewhere. I think that it's very tough for them because it's a young side with a lot of pressure, with a manager that's got a project that, I don't know what's going to happen with these young players. Are they going to see? Are they going to be able to see? Are they going to have the patience? But I think they're going to have to try and give them some time.
The former Villa manager, Dean Smith, was on 5 Live with me last weekend, and he said he thinks Konsa should be in the England squad.
Well, he's been putting in some really impressive performances, even from last season and today. And yes, we saw Chelsea get a few chances, but he was somebody that he can get forward. Nice pass outside of the boot there. I think they should do better there. In respects of this here, he's going to try and hold him offside. He's not offside, but then he gets himself back in. He's got good pace. He's got good strength. He's not diving in, which is something that you like to see from him. Gets himself in a good position here. Clears it out. You want to see a Chelsea forward a lot closer to him, I must admit. Good jump, which you'd expect him to do. But then once he gets into a situation where he's in a chase, Jackson has good pace, doesn't rush in, takes his time, calm. I think he's somebody, for me, is that he's worth having a look at simply because, he's got all the attributes for a Premier League striker that can maybe have a look at him. I'd definitely have a look at Ezra Konsa.
We had a look in the North London derby about where VAR didn't get involved. Do you thought it got involved for the right reason in this game?
Yeah, I think it's a red card. It's the referee's gone with yellow to start with, Chappers, and I think he's made the right decision. Again, we talk about VAR. I believe in the Arsenal game not getting involved in a wrong way. They should have gone, and that's a dangerous challenge. Lucas Digne is very lucky not to have a serious injury on the back of that, and I think that the ref, after seeing the video, it's got to be a red card.
And the decision was overturned and Gusto was sent off. Right, on...
Yeah, early days, but the situation for Mauricio Pochettino is it's Chelsea's worst start since 1978, 3 defeats already. They haven't scored a goal in their last 3 games. 10 players out. Is there a need for a bit of context here in the situation that he walked into, Glenn?
Well, I think so, yeah. I mean, they're not playing anywhere near like you expect Chelsea to play with the money that they've spent as well, the quality that they've got there. I thought Pochettino would come in and really get them organised, playing on the front foot, pressing high. He's not done that. There's still a little bit in between how he wants to play. I think behind the scenes, they're quite happy with him as a coach. But at the moment, they're not transferring that into points and what they're doing on the pitch at this moment in time. He's one that wants to work very much with youngsters. He's got them, but I think he's got to find a way of getting some results first to give them that confidence. At the moment, they're bereft of confidence. You can see that in their play. They really are. Even in certain games, they've had 20 minutes, little spells here and there that they've played well. They haven't prolonged any sort of consistency with the ball, and they've got some problems without it as well at this moment in time. So, yeah, a lot of work to be done, but I don't see him being sacked or anything stupid like that.
Particularly at Stamford Bridge, Charles. I mean, incredibly, he's inherited a team. They've won 4 times in 19 league games at home, Chelsea Football Club.
Yeah, I mean, the record is not good, but as Glenn was saying, he's good with the youngsters. He's got the team. A lot of players have been shipped out. A lot of players have come in. Hopefully, there are the players he wants at the club. He's got to work with it. It's going to come round. He might need a lucky win to kind of get them going because the quality on the pitch is top notch. You know, you're scratching your head and you're thinking how this team is not clicking or not working or not scoring or allowing so many goals to go in. So it's going to work sometime. I think it's going to be on the pitch, working, training ground, keep working, right attitude, and it will come. The top players.
Goes from bad to worse, really, for Mauricio Pochettino at Chelsea. Just 1 win from their first 6 games of the season. But goals continue to be a problem because that's the 3rd blank they've registered in the Premier League this season. They've only scored 24 in this calendar year, which is the fewest of any team, excluding those that have been relegated or promoted. So those regulars that are featured in England's top flight. 24 goals in 29 games. What that does show, though, Leon, is that there is a problem there that predates when Pochettino arrived, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's why Pochettino has been given the job. There's been a problem at Chelsea for a number of years. And, you know, I think they're past the point of thinking throwing money at this problem is automatically going to solve it. So, you know, Poch has come in, he's trying to work with the team. I can see patterns of play and progression he's worked on, but they're still suffering at the top end of the field. They've got nobody that they can rely on to get them 25, 20 even goals of the season, where Chelsea always had one of them. They always had midfielders that could score goals. Goals came from all over the park for Chelsea, and it's just alarming that they can spend money on lovely football players, but not find anyone with real ruthless edge in front of goal.
Tim, let me ask you, Mauricio Pochettino is confident that they can turn the corner.
Yeah.
Are you?
I think they will give him the time. He's obviously going to need the time. It was a slow start for him at Tottenham. You know, I remember that game away at Villa Park, you know, when Harry Kane scored. And I think he was on the edge of losing his job before that. I think it was a winner in the game. And it all turned around. They need a few results. They need confidence. They need a goal scorer. I mean, 1 or 2. When have Chelsea never had a goal scorer? Leon's absolutely right. It was like Frank Lampard, Didier Drogba. You know, we're a long way away from now. We've had players who score goals. You know, Lukaku is a Premier League prolific goal scorer, but he's never done it at Chelsea. You know, I thought Pochettino might put his arm around him. All of a sudden, he's had to leave. He's had to leave the football club. Aubameyang's been there. They've had players who can score in the Premier League, but no one has found the solution to try and get goals for the Blues side. And at the moment, I can't put my finger on it. Jackson's not the answer. I once he had 5 bookings.
Yeah, he's out now.
Yeah, I mean, you'd rather 5 goals, wouldn't you? 5 bookings. I mean, it'd be handy. It'd be handy.
Why are you asking me that?
But you know, Mauricio must be scratching his head, but I think he's the right man. I really do. Yeah. I think the only reason I say that is that he's proven in the Premier League that he has done it before. Yeah. Are they going to give him the time? It looks like they've got more patience than the previous owner. So, you know, thank goodness for that, because Mauricio otherwise will be, you know, out the door.
On that, the 5 bookings for Nicholas Jackson, 4 bookings for dissent, 1 for blocking a free kick, so technical fouls, if anything. And obviously, no doubt Mauricio Pochettino will be hugely frustrated with that. Let's talk to Chris Foy for the red card in that game. Initially, it was a yellow, of course, for Malo Gusto. But Chris, just tell us why Jared Gillett then upgraded it to a red.
Yeah, obviously he did upgrade it to a red because it was recommended by Andy Madler, the VAR, to look at it. I have to say, Manish, when I first saw this, I actually thought red card, and there was nothing in it to change my mind. The only surprise was that the referee on the field didn't get it in, at the time. When you look at it again, it doesn't look a lot from that angle, but when you see it from this angle there, it's the point of contact, it's the way he flies in, and you can see the ankle bend. And Andy Madley, who's the VAR, quite rightly, in my opinion, recommended a review. But of course, Jared Gillett can go to the screen and stay with his original decision if he sees fit. But obviously, he's seen more than what he did at the time, and he's upgraded it to red.
Leon, you're not convinced by that, are you?
No, not just because it's Chris saying it. It's just, I just think that in every tackle, you could probably find a moment where, if you find a freeze frame, it doesn't look great. That's what contact is, and coming together. I just think that he's gone in forcefully. Yes, he's got in low and touched the ball and the follow through. I don't think you can avoid that from that position. I think it's a yellow card. I think the fact that the referee gave an on-field yellow card, I think that was enough. It could potentially be in that grey area, but for it to be overruled, having been a yellow card on the field, and we keep getting told about the level of commitment it needs to overturn such a decision, I was surprised that the VAR overturned that one.
OK, Chris, thanks very much indeed. We have to have a look at Ollie Watkins' all-important goal. 4 wins in 5 then for Aston Villa. Your former club, of course, Tim. And, I suppose coming back from what happened in Europe in midweek, you're not quite sure how they're going to adjust, but to come away from Stamford Bridge with 3 points is terrific.
They got a confident group of players. Yeah. The top drawer manager. I think Ollie's strike there was fantastic as well. The first one, when it comes off Colwell, the control and finish, I think it takes them all by surprise. It goes straight through the goalkeeper's legs. They're all confident. They've got a real clear structure of how they want to play. And that comes because they've got a top drawer manager who's calm. Doesn't matter if they lose games, go back. He's talking after us. I saw his interview after the game. He's talking about there's a few things we need to work on tactically. He's always on it. He's always turning the page. He's fantastic, and they've got a good man in charge of them.
We're at Stamford Bridge. I'm Derek Ray, joined for commentary by former England international Lee Dixon, and we've got Premier League action coming right up. It is Chelsea up against Aston Villa.
Yeah, thank you, Derek. Real pleasure to be here. Looking forward to this game. Players will be a bit nervous. I was always nervous at the start of games. It's important you get your first pass off to your colleague, maybe get a good tackle in, settle the nerves down. Looking forward to a good game here.
Timo Werner couldn't hang on to the ball. And this is how it looks for Chelsea. Antonio Rudiger starts alongside Thiago Silva in central defence, and leading the line today is Timo Werner. Traoré! And there it is, the opening goal, the ideal way to start.
Obviously it's a tap-in, Derek, but it's the patience in the box I like. A predator's instinct, just waiting for the ball to come to him.
It'll be interesting to see whether or not Chelsea can articulate an appropriate reply. Far from a good pass. Douglas Luiz. It's with Douglas Luiz. Well, he could really get at the opposition. Just cutting off the supply. And showing fine vision. The end product just wasn't there. So a throw in here. N'Golo Kanté. An alert intervention. Douglas Luiz. And a chance to whip it in here. Moving the ball nicely, looking for that final pass. Wonderful block.